Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you a Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls guide to a powerful Natalya set Demon Hunter build that is being used by some of the leaderboard topping players. Now, it's currently a toss-up whether Unhallowed Essence or Natalya's is the superior set. Be sure to check out this video here if you're looking for an Unhallowed Essence set build that's going to allow you to push as far as possible into the highest greater rifts. But if you're looking for a Natalya set build, which is arguably just as good, and maybe even better, then here's a fire build for you to check out. Now the build revolves around Natalya's set bonuses. The 2 set bonus reduces the cooldown of Rain of Vengeance every time you hit with an attack. The 4 set bonus makes Rain of Vengeance deal double damage. And the 6-piece set bonus gives you a big damage buff and damage reduction after you cast Rain of Vengeance. Let's take a look at the skills. Your bread and butter is going to be Rain of Vengeance Stampede. If you're going for a physical build that's a little better at dealing with speed rifts rather than pushing really high rifts, you might go with Dark Cloud instead. But Stampede is really what you need to deal the big damage and apply the knockback effects that you're going to want for those high greater rifts. Next, you're going to want Strafe Rocket Storm. Rocket Storm gives us a little bit more damage and will benefit from our fire gear. If you're going for a physical build, you can go with Stinging Steel. Drifting Shadow will enable you to run a little bit faster. If you're doing T6 speed rifts and feel that you're already pumping out enough damage, you might want to opt for this. But Rocket Storm will synergize best with your fire gear. Next, we want Preparation Focused Mind. Some people sometimes use Punishment instead to restore hatred instead of discipline, but Focused Mind will allow you to keep up Smokescreen a lot longer, and we'll get to that in a moment. Focused Mind gives you a bigger amount of discipline, but rather than in one shot, you gain it over 15 seconds. And this is actually a lot more useful, given that the cooldown on Smokescreen will be our rate limiting factor on how much discipline we're going to be using. If you know you're about to enter a fight that's going to make you use Smokescreen a lot, then you can pop Preparation before you're even missing 45 discipline, and as long as you keep using Smokescreen, you're never going to be wasting any of that discipline. It's never going to make your discipline bubble overflow. Whereas if you were already at 30 discipline, and then you restored 30 discipline, then you're not getting the full use out of Preparation, because it doesn't make you go above whatever your cap might be. So onto Smokescreen. Displacement is a really strong rune for this. It enables you to move at double speed, basically. This really helps you get out of tight situations quickly, and as an added benefit, makes you run through rifts faster, if you choose to use it more offensively than defensively. Lingering Fog is an option that is sometimes used, and this simply extends the duration by half a second. Next, you'll want Companion, Wolf Companion. And this is so that you can pop that active to gain the 30% damage buff for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. This really helps with the Champion and Elite packs and Rift Guardian. And lastly, Evasive Fire Focus. Yes, this is the cold rune, however, all we're looking for here is to maximize the amount of hatred that we are generating. And as an added benefit, it's really easy to hit with Evasive Fire Focus because of its shotgun-like spread. And while you won't be using this for damage, we'll get into very soon why you want to be hitting enemies with this. Onto the passives, you'll want Steady Aim because 10 yards is actually a lot shorter than you think. Check out this video here and you'll see that your character is just about 9 yards tall. Awareness is basically an essential passive when you're in greater rifts. As a Demon Hunter, you are a glass cannon and you'll get just about one shot by most things, so you basically want to never be hit. However, if you are hit, it's nice to get a free resurrection once every minute. Ambush is a really great power that's going to help you deal a lot more damage at the start of a fight. Lastly, we're going to want to take Cull the Weak, because that's going to give us a nice damage buff. Now you might be wondering though, what will be proccing your Cull the Weak? It is true that right now we don't have any means of doing so. However, if you're playing on Seasons, then you have the option of using the Ice Blink gem, and the Ice Blink gem will make Evasive Fire proc your Cull the Weak. However, if you're not playing Seasons, and or you don't want to use the Ice Blink gem, then you have a couple options. If you're playing in a party, you can rely entirely on your teammates to provide the crowd control that will enable you to proc your Cull the Weak. Or if you're playing solo, the other option is to rely on your Templar. You're going to want to use the Intimidate skill on him. Enemies that hit or are hit by the Templar are slowed by 80% for 3 seconds. You want to combine this with a Bolcathos Wedding Band ring, which as a special effect drains life from enemies around your Templar. So that's what will be proccing your Intimidate. Throwing an S of Johann on him will also help. That has a chance on hit to pull and slow enemies, and stack attack speed in order to proc these effects as often as possible. If that's not an option, you can always swap out Evasive Fire for Entangling Shot, Justice is Served. That'll give you slightly less hatred generated, and it's a little harder to target, but it is an option. However, it's not one that you see any of the top players using. All the top players use Evasive Fire Focus. You can also swap out Rocket Storm with Icy Trail in order to reliably proc Call of the Weak. Now if you have a Hellfire Amulet, and thus have access to a 5th passive, then Archery is a pretty good option. That'll give you a little bit more damage, and a little bit more hatred regeneration. And other passives that I've seen used include Tactical Advantage, that'll help you with those speedruns, Blood Vengeance, this helps with your hatred and discipline management, and Hot Pursuit, which again will help with those speedruns. Now onto the gear. Keep in mind that what I'm showing you here is something that I just threw together quickly, so don't base yourself on the stats you're seeing, base yourself on what I'm saying. For your shoulder slot, the item doesn't matter all that much, but the ideals would be the Pauldrons of the Skeleton King. These are not mandatory to this build, but they do help. They would be best in slot, because their special power is that when you receive fatal damage, there's a chance that you're instead restored to 25% of your maximum life. Now, testing has revealed that this effect happens roughly 10% of the time, but there's no internal cooldown, so this could theoretically happen twice in a row. A 10% chance to activate may not sound like a lot, but when the reward is not incrementing an annoying death timer, it really could be the difference between passing and failing a rift. Your ideal shoulder stats will be Dex, cooldown reduction, Rain of Vengeance damage, and either resource cost reduction or vitality. For your Helm, you need Natalya's Sight. Again, we need the 6 pieces of Natalya's set. The stats you want are Dex, Vitality, Crit Chance, Socket, and you're going to put a diamond in there. We want that cooldown reduction. We want to be popping Rain of Vengeance as often as possible, and while the Natalya's set bonus will help a lot with that, cooldown reduction helps as well. For your neck, there's no mandatory item. A Hellfire is likely ideal, but that's only if you can get a well-rolled one with a proper passive on it. If not a Hellfire, a Mara's Kaleidoscope is probably also a best in slot, and that's because most of the Rift Guardians deal poison damage, so having that poison damage immunity, not just immunity but also getting healed by poison damage, really is a huge benefit. For your hands, you need Natalya's Touch. And the stats you'll want are Dexterity, Critical Hit Damage, Critical Hit Chance, and Cooldown Reduction. For your torso, Natalya's Embrace, Dex, Socket, Rain of Vengeance damage, and Hatred Regeneration. We need that hatred to keep up Strafe, and it's okay to sacrifice Vitality because you're basically going to get one shot by anything at higher greater rifts anyway. For your wrists, the strong arm bracers are probably going to be best in slot, but they're not mandatory to the build. The reason is that enemies hit by knockback effects suffer a lot more damage, and that couples with Rain of Vengeance Stampede. Those shadow beasts are going to be applying knockback effects. Now, if you really have trouble with managing resources, you can opt to go with the Reaper's Wraps. Or if you really want to focus on speedruns, you can go with the Warzekian Arm Guards. Warzekian Arm Guards will give you a short burst of speed after you destroy a destructible object. And with Strafe, you're basically going to be accidentally shooting all objects around you anyway. As for Reaper's Wraps, those are those craftable wrist items that grant you back some hatred when you pick up a health globe. And the stats you'll want are Fire Damage, Dexterity, Vitality, and Crit Chance. Now for your rings, you're going to need Focus and Restraint, the Bastion of Will set. Even poorly rolled Focus and Restraint rings are going to be better than most alternatives. The set bonus basically gives you double damage, and the individual set bonuses are triggered by dealing damage with a resource generating attack and a resource spending attack. So Strafe will be proccing one half of that, the resource spending attack, and you're relying on Evasive Fire Focus to proc the other half. So that means once every 5 seconds minimum, you need to shoot evasive fire at an enemy. Ideal stats on your focus and restraint are dexterity, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and socket. For your waist, in order to maximize your damage, you need the Crashing Rain Belt. That makes Rain of Vengeance summon a crashing beast that deals up to 4000% weapon damage. That is just about doubling the damage of your Rain of Vengeance. And for this slot, we're going pure defense, so we want dexterity, vitality, all resist, and life percent. As for your pants, you need Natalya's leggings, ideal stats, dexterity, vitality, and all resist. For your boots, you need Natalya's bloody footprints, ideal stats, dexterity, vitality, all resist, and move speed. For your weapons, you're going to be going with 2 one-hand crossbows. One has to be Natalya's Slayer. And the stats you want on that are dexterity, cooldown reduction, Rain of Vengeance damage, percent damage, and a socket. Of course, you get all that with a Ramaladni's gift. And obviously you want an ancient version. For your other weapon, ideally you want a Calamity, going for basically those same stats. But the reason you want the Calamity is because enemies that you hit are marked for death. That applies a significant damage buff against them. But if you can't get a well-rolled Calamity, then the next best thing will be a Balefire Caster, because that's going to buff your fire damage. And another lesser option that you can go with is a Kamar 10 clip, because that will make Strafe gain the effect of the Drifting Shadow rune. This will enable you to benefit from the maximized damage of Rocket Storm, as well as the increased move speed of Drifting Shadow. But barring all those, any well-rolled one-hand crossbow will do. It just won't be best in slot. As for legendary gems, you'll want Zay's Stone of Vengeance. As a demon hunter, you want to stay far away from enemies to start off with, and Zay's makes you deal more damage the further away you are. You'll want Bane of the Trapped, because that applies a huge damage multiplier against control-impaired enemies, so same thing like with your Cull the Weak. And Taeguk, and you should be able to maintain full Taeguk stacks, or as we said, if you're playing Season, you can swap something out for Ice Blink, and you'd probably want to be swapping out your Taeguk. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching, check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share it with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.